Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tom Colohue YouTube channel, where today we're going to be talking quite a bit about the WWE's planned response to the challenge that was laid down so boisterously and so powerfully by Tony Khan of AEW over the weekend. I'll say over the weekend. It was a very short time ago. So we're going to be going quite in depth with a lot of information as to what the WWE are planning, how they're planning to essentially react to Tony Khan, and how they believe they're going to fare against ultimately an AEW juggernaut that's been gaining ground on them pretty quickly, pretty powerfully, and pretty succinctly for a while now. So they're I wouldn't necessarily say they're in hot water, but certainly there's going to be a reaction, a strong reaction to what's going on over there in the world of AEW when it comes to what WWE hope to achieve, how they hope to counter, and what they plan to do essentially to shut the whole damn thing down. So we're going to be sharing a lot of news that you can jump into as we go. My stream setup is lagging a little bit, so if you are saying hi, I do apologize. I will catch up as soon as the stream does, and we'll go from there. Hello noob, how the devil are you? I realize I say that way too much. Hello noob, and hello Michael. Really do appreciate you guys jumping in. Welcome to the show. Please click like if you haven't already. We'll get started. And for anyone watching this on catch up, that little like button does make a major difference, so please do click that thumbs up if you can. So we've got quite a bit that we want to cover. It is mostly WWE versus AEW related, but I also want to talk a little bit about news that's come out about Liv Morgan, Gable Steveson, what's going on with Shayna Baszler, the new streaming PC, which as you can tell I'm not quite set up yet because we're still in somewhat limited capacity here and the quality is not perfect, but will be in future. And we're going to need to talk one more time about Bray Wyatt. Now, we talked about Bray Wyatt last week. We went quite in depth about Bray Wyatt last week, but we're now at a point where we kind of just have to do it again, because if we don't, people are just still going to find themselves very confused, just very, very confused, that they can't say for certain what's going on. And they should be able to, but should they? So I want to start with that, reiterating what we've said previously about Bray Wyatt. Now, the news out there at the moment, thank you Noob for letting me know about that. I'm not sure what's causing the audio has come out recently is covering a variety of topics. There have been reports that he's definitely going to Impact, and then they've been recanted and said no, he's not definitely going to Impact. There have been plentiful rumours that hey, he's going to be making appearances in AEW. We've covered that and made it clear that that was at best opportunism, which I don't like. I really don't like when we see opportunism when it comes to something like Bray Wyatt and the like. It shouldn't be a situation whereby we have to see this. But going forwards, when it comes to Bray Wyatt, there have been a number of challenges that he's found, particularly from people making stuff up and saying he's going to be places where he isn't. So we have to sort of respect that there's a change needed here when it comes to reporting. But in the meantime, Bray Wyatt himself, no news at the moment as to what his future holds. Going to Impact doesn't seem to be it. It just doesn't seem to be it right now anyway, because there has been no contract signed. I need to stress this. There has been no contract signed by Bray Wyatt. I've said this a number of times. I'm still finding myself having to say it again. Bray Wyatt has not signed a contract with any wrestling company. He can't. He's still under a no-compete clause. Hello, the user. Welcome to the show, mate. So I just wanted to reiterate that before we really get started. When we go into the conversation about AEW and WWE, Tony Khan made himself some headlines quite recently by basically challenging the WWE to go one-on-one with, if you'll let me fantasy book slightly, to go one-on-one with the Great One. To go one-on-one with the best. The challenge was laid down. Can Rampage beat SmackDown next week when SmackDown is on the much less watched and much less available Fox Sports 1? No. No, they can't. They just can't. The answer is no. it's not really feasible that there'll be any sort of victory, especially when you consider that they're only actually going head-to-head for half an hour. However, the WWE, regardless of this, has decided to nix the whole thing. They've literally decided that the right thing to do is just to shut down any questions about whether or not Rampage can compete by delivering a show built around certain stars that will, in their eyes, bury AEW. And that is the plan. They want to bury AEW largely because of Tony Khan's tweet. They don't want to be seen as backing down from a fight, and Tony Khan has essentially opened the doors. The floodgates are open, and carnage is about to ensue. We've already seen what the WWE is planning roughly. The real obvious things that they've already laid out are the match which will main event next week, which will be Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks, and also the last 30 minutes will have no commercial breaks. The plan essentially is to have a 20-minute match between Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, and at the end of it, nobody will want to watch Rampage, or so the WWE believe. Now, if Rampage is going to compete, they have a number of challenges ahead of them. First and foremost, they need to arrest the decline in their ratings that's been happening for the past entire life cycle of Rampage. Rampage has not been the most watched show. The ratings have gone down and down and down basically every week because they peaked right at the beginning with the return of CM Punk. The issue you have there, CM Punk can't come back every week. As such, you're going to struggle to maintain those ratings that they initially had because it's not possible to keep up. It's simply not possible. Thank you, Michael. I'm definitely having some problems with the software right now. When the new PC is all set up and sorted, that should be the end of those problems. It really should. I don't know why they keep happening. I'm trying to keep things stable, as it were, but I'm having definite CPU issues. I'm trying to sort it, but it just does not want to play more often than not. It just does not want to play. So I'm doing what I can to try and present a high-quality show. And I do apologise if you're having any issues. Device graph, which will not shut down. Wonderful. Yeah, a massive improvement. Right, okay. Michael says Rampage isn't good enough, particularly with the fact that it's pre-recorded and the results tend to leak out. That makes it difficult for them to really compete. Rampage has not set the world on fire outside of that first 10 minutes when CM Punk returned. They used it extremely well there, and they did use it extremely well. They found a way not just to attract viewership, but to keep them for the duration of the show. The problem was, and has always been of AEW, that the retention rate isn't there. They make you feel like anything can happen, but actually, they don't make you feel like that. They make you feel like if anything is going to happen, you'll already know about it. Because they hint at CM Punk. They hint at Daniel Bryan. They hint at Adam Cole. These three people are huge names in wrestling who either returned or defected at just the right time to massively boost Dynamite and Rampage. That said, before CM Punk's return and the news that CM Punk could have been returning was leaked, their viewership was below 1 million. Their viewership broke that million because the news was leaked, quite possibly by somebody in AEW, that CM Punk was going to be returning. They climbed and climbed, getting close to 1.4, 1.6. They got huge numbers. Since then, they've come down. They've come down in a massive way. We are now getting back to the point where they are close to sub 1 million again on Dynamite, and Rampage is sinking closer to AEW Dark levels. We don't know what the true numbers of regular viewership is for AEW because they managed to attract a small amount of people to keep coming to it, and by small amount of people I mean compared to their peak numbers, and their retention rate, it simply isn't that high. They don't have the retention rate. This, I feel, is is why they're going to need to put on something really special at Rampage to even come close to SmackDown, which is established, which is the wrestling brand of America, of the world, and it's very, very hard to compete with. The user says, do you think AEW will ever work with WWE? No. They would have to sink like a stone in order to ever think it viable. And at the moment, they're doing well enough. They should go back to around about 800,000 viewers regularly for Dynamite if there's no more big surprises in the future. That's not bad, and they should accept that. They should be very proud. The user also says, do you think Vince sees AEW as competition? No. No. I can say with absolute certainty that Vince McMahon does not view AEW as any sort of competition. I've been told that again and again and again. I've reported that again and again and again. And it's been confirmed again and again and again. So no, he does not see them as competition. What I will say is that Triple H does. And those who oversee NXT do. There's a lot of WWE management and creative who regularly watch AEW. Vince McMahon, however, does not. He does not care. Rob's welcome says Sasha did 900k with Io Shirai last time she went head-to-head with AEW. She did. To be fair, it wasn't just necessarily her. It was a good NXT show at the same time. But she was the draw, proven again and again. She is one thing that AEW do not have an answer to. It's basically her and Roman that the All Elite Wrestling simply do not have an answer to. And TikTok says they need to show more Rio. I think they do as well, to be honest. She's a very talented wrestler who doesn't get featured enough. Britt Baker's doing a very good job, that said. What I will say, though, is that the women's division could do with a bit more love, but that's been the case the entirety of the 2 years that AEW has been running. They create really interesting and compelling storylines in the men's divisions. Why can't those same writers create interesting things across the variety of the women's division? That said, I do feel like the Ruby Soho debut was extremely similar to what they do with some top-level debuts. You look at Lance Archer, came in, got a championship shot, lost. You look at Brody Lee, came in, got a championship shot, lost. You look at Nick Gage, came in, got a championship shot, lost. Again and again and again, that's how AEW seemed to introduce people. That also was how they introduced Ruby Soho, or at least it seemed to me. Gotcha, Robs. Thank you for clarifying. And Noob says they need more storylines in AEW Women's Division. They do. It's no longer accurate for them to say, oh, well, we've only got 2 hours. They have 3 hours of programming and then 2 more hours of programming on YouTube. I believe it's 2 more hours. I could be wrong. But they've got plenty more. Have only one than that to their women's division. But AEW, I feel, needs to be challenged a little bit more. When we see the quality of storytelling that they have in the men's division, and then you see what they're doing in the women's, it is night and day. It is apples and oranges. It is nothing close. WWE are guilty of this. AEW are guilty of this too. The user says, who do you think will win a crown jewel between Roman and Lesnar? Roman, no question whatsoever. No question whatsoever, the user. There is no doubt in my mind that Roman will be retaining the Universal Championship. If you're just joining us, hi, I'm Tom Colohue. Today we're talking about WWE versus AEW. We're talking about WWE's intended response to AEW. If you are watching, please do remember to click the like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference to the amount of people watching this stream, the amount of people who subscribe to the channel, and my overall growth. You could do me a very big favor just by clicking that button, and it takes you no time at all, so please do consider it. Michael says, Britt has a personality that they desperately needed. Very true. Very true. So does Ruby, to be fair. Pardon me. So I want to talk a little bit more about this. SmackDown itself, they've managed to produce, or at least advertise, a very high quality show. The main event will be the women's match between Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, and it will be a top draw match. The entire show, every half hour, they're going to swing back to it. We're going to see backstage interviews with Becky, with Sasha, with Bianca Belair, maybe even with Charlotte Flair. We're going to have Brock Lesnar making an appearance as well as a continuation of what's been happening between Seth Rollins and Edge. They are using all of the drawing power that they have on SmackDown to try and guarantee a huge rating. What I will say is that Fox and the USA Network were very happy with the draft shows. Very happy, in fact. The USA Network was very happy with the picks that they got, particularly Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. Also very happy about Edge and Rey Mysterio, whereas Fox just really wanted Roman and Charlotte. They're also very happy to keep Sasha Banks, and I feel Sasha Banks will be one of those people who are just so key to everything going forwards on SmackDown that really just having her there is a huge help. One of the big things as well is the arrival of Shayna Baszler, which won't happen yet. We won't see Shayna Baszler arriving until in the build to Survivor Series, where I believe she will play a major part in the Survivor Series women's team for SmackDown. The user says, who do you think will dethrone Roman? Drew McIntyre. I've been saying that very consistently. I think Drew McIntyre will be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. There were, of course, rumours that we were going to see The Rock appear at Survivor Series. Roman Reigns will be taking on Big E at Survivor Series. Big E is, at the moment, if The Rock is not involved, expected to lose that match. He's expected to lose, which is why he's going to get some pretty big wins like he has over Bobby Lashley, and he will over Drew McIntyre in the build to sort of protect him from it. On this SmackDown, we are likely to open with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. The two are going to get physical. Our midpoint draw segment will be Seth Rollins and Edge. And then our main event, going into that final half hour, we will talk with Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, continuing with that interview. And then we will get a half-hour match between the two, or just below half an hour when you factor out the introductions and someone coming down onto commentary, with no commercial breaks. Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks have been told, you're going to be there the whole time. Make sure your stamina is good enough to do it. And Becky Lynch has absolute confidence that she can deliver. Sasha Banks, as we know, is training and continues to train. She's trying to add a new thing to every big match she does. And when it comes to the every big match that she does, she always does a little bit of extra training to bring something new to the table. Watch out for that. Whatever new move she does, it won't be too highly mentioned by the commentary team because they don't know it's coming. Watch out for the one new move that Sasha Banks will deliver from her arsenal. Michael says, did they say why it was moved to FS1? They did not, but essentially they've been bumped for different programming. Fox has decided that a different sport needs to be in their time slot, so they've kicked them off. And ultimately, they're competing with their own network for time slots and viewers when it comes to this one. The reaction to Tony Khan's tweet from WWE management, and I mean particularly Vince McMahon and Nick Khan here, was a certain amount of joy. Vince McMahon is said to have been looking forward to this. He is said to thrive on competition, and he wants Tony Khan to lay down the gauntlet. A lot of people in WWE seem to believe that this will be an easy win for them and will allow them to essentially put Tony Khan in his place a little bit. Now, this, of course, is AEW reshaping the question, which is something that they have been known to do due to their marketing skills and background, where essentially instead of being able to say, this is what we're planning and we're going to fight you on a fair ground, AEW are not fighting on a fair ground. They are not fighting to measure the same success. AEW are not sat there saying, we're going to beat SmackDown at its best. What they're saying is, we want to beat SmackDown at its worst, and even if they are destroyed in the ratings, they will mention the demographics. Even if they don't win on the vaunted 18 to 40 demographic, even if they just win on 18 to 21, they will call it a victory. So watch for that one, and that's pretty much the plan from AEW's side. For anyone who isn't aware, we are an Ask Me Anything stream. Please do jump in with any questions that you have. Let me know if there are any more audio issues. These shows thrive on the suggestions from yourselves and the planning that I do. I will be talking quite a bit about a lot of different topics on the show today. I wanted to start with that one, but also this is Ask Me Anything. So please, if you can, ask questions, leave likes, and subscribe if you can as well. One of the other topics I have to discuss is as regards the Queen's Crown Tournament. This is the name for the Queen of the Ring tournament that started on SmackDown this past week. Now, there is a lot of upset when it comes to both the WWE and the fandom for how the Queen's Crown Tournament has so far been handled. There have been 2 matches. In one, Liv Morgan lost pretty much clean in a very short amount of time to Carmella. And in the other, Toni Storm lost clean in a very short amount of time to Zelina Vega. This means in the semi-final we will see Carmella versus Vega, heel versus heel. This also means that when it comes to the SmackDown side of the bracket, only one woman will be a SmackDown wrestler going forwards, and she's already out of the competition. Now, there has been a report from Fightful Select that Liv Morgan was penciled in to be a winner, and then it was changed to Carmella. There has been a number of changes already in the tournament in order to guarantee certain things. Essentially, the way that WWE are looking at this, they're taking her out of the firing line a little bit. She was only going to be losing in the next round anyway to Zelina Vega, because the plan is, at the moment, it's all about Shayna Baszler and potentially Doudrop. Shayna Baszler is someone that I have predicted to win this since day one. Since it was first announced as happening, I have said that the winner is going to be Shayna Baszler. I still believe that that is going to be the case. She is going to be running through Dana Brooke again. She's going to be taking on Doudrop and probably beating her. And then the plan is to have a heel for her to go against in the final, either Carmella or Zelina Vega at this point. Now, I believe it's likely to be Zelina Vega, but at the same time, you never can tell. And I think with Saudi Arabia, the WWE sort of owe Carmella one, because Carmella, during the very first show at Saudi Arabia, was booed when she appeared on screen because she wasn't wearing enough in their eyes. You never can tell with this one. But I did report a couple of weeks ago that Shayna Baszler's push was finally coming. The Queen's Crown is the plan for it. What I do want to say is that the women's matches on SmackDown combined took less time from the show than Roman Reigns' entrance. Speaking purely for myself, that is not good enough. It's absolutely not. We did open with the build to the triple threat for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and the WWE will point to that as to accrued time for the women on the show. But even then, the accrued time for women on the show was still about 15 minutes. So an eighth of the show. That's not factoring in commercial breaks, which make up like a third of the show, but still not enough for me. They need to do a lot better when it comes to this. And I don't for a moment believe that Carmella versus Zelina Vega is going to have a lot of time given to it either. That is a real shame. Heel versus heel, the crowd just aren't going to care. They're just not going to care. Rob said, Friday on Fox is game 1 of the American League Championship Series, teams to be determined. So thank you, Robs, for letting us know what the plan is as to why we are not going to see SmackDown on Fox Sports. Or just Fox, I should say. Robs is apparently also a Queen of Spades fan. The Queen of Spades will be Queen of the Ring. And I believe after that, she'll be zeroing in on the Queen herself as we move forwards. Also, of course, the Queen of Hearts is now on SmackDown. There are technically 3 queens in the SmackDown Women's division. Shayna's going to have an eye on all of them. I see her winning the Queen's Crown, going after Natalya, and then you never know what's going to happen in that Royal Rumble. You never can tell. Though, of course, regular viewers and subscribers to this YouTube channel will be aware that I said a lot about the idea of Bayley returning for the Royal Rumble. If you haven't watched that video yet, I do implore you to give it a chance, because there's a lot of interesting news there. Something else I want to talk about briefly is as regards the plan for Gable Steveson. Now, the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer is reporting that Gable Steveson will be debuting in the build-up to WrestleMania and will debut as a wrestler at WrestleMania. With this in mind, my prediction is that we're going to see Gable Stevenson's first feud be against The Miz. Logically, the trusted hand in the Raw divisions is The Miz. He's trusted to be the one who brings the sort of celebrities forwards, and he can also guarantee a very good match. We saw that with Bad Bunny, for example. The Miz versus Gable Steveson simply makes the most sense at this time, if that is indeed the plan. Failing that, we could of course have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal won by Steveson, because if they're going to push him, they're going to push him hard, and they're going to push him fast. That said, there is already a Gable on WWE Raw, that is Chad Gable. Now, my dream, really, would be what I'm referring to as a Gable-off. Gable versus Gable to decide who earns the right to retain the Gable name. It's not going to happen, but wouldn't it be great? We have two more people joining us. Hello, Alyssa, saying very upset. Liv Morgan, Tony Storm think too many heels in the WWE. There are. I agree with that. Shayna Baszler, of course, will be moving towards I don't know how to phrase it. She won't be a face or a heel going forwards, essentially. Her booking will not be one side or the other. So keep an eye on that one. Christoph, welcome, says, hi Tom, good to see you, hope you're doing well. I am, thank you very much, Christoph. If you have just joined us, please do remember to click that like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference to our viewership. Christoph says, you're totally right, having women featured for a shorter time than one long entrance is simply not good enough. We used to be able to look to NXT for a great women's division. Triple H did well there. I still think we can look to NXT for a great women's division. My video today was about NXT call-ups that were not actually called up. For example, Io Shirai, Dakota Kai. The women's division, however, I still think is in very good hands down in NXT. And Alyssa says, too many heels in WWE. Someone needs to turn babyface. Okay. We never know what's going to happen with Sasha. Sasha has been heel for a while. I personally prefer her as a heel character, but that doesn't guarantee that's going to be the case forever. I think if she's going to feud with Charlotte, she will automatically be turned babyface, and I do think we're going to see that in the build-up to the Royal Rumble before Shayna Baszler really steps into the picture. Or it's going to be the other way around. Hard to tell at this point. Really hard to tell. Okay. One thing I do want to talk about, and this is a bit of personal news as regards streams and the shows that we're doing. My streaming PC has now arrived. It's brand new and it's much higher quality than the laptop that I'm streaming on at the moment. The issues that I have with streaming are not necessarily as regards RAM or anything like that. It's the processor. The processor is the issue that I'm mainly having when it comes to streaming. Now, don't get me wrong. I will have much better RAM in the PCs that I'm getting and the ability to just plug in more, which will improve the quality of the streams immensely. But also, I've got a much better processor, which will make the streams much higher quality. Should get rid of a lot of the audio issues that we've been having as well. With this in mind, if you're a follower on Twitch or a follower on YouTube, it will be by the end of the month, we will be launching new streams with all new designs. So this design around me now, which I made personally, I'm going to be improving on it considerably. As well as that, we are now almost halfway through my time with the Twitch sports team, which means that dual streams for Raw and SmackDown watch parties may be on their way back. They may be on their way back, and that may be sooner rather than later. Alyssa says she thinks Becky Lynch has been a complete failure since returning. Her promo on Monday night, I'm guessing wasn't good. And Alyssa also says doesn't like big time Becks. The 3D graphic confused me initially. Like, I wasn't ready for that 3D graphic. Wasn't quite prepared for it. That said, I wouldn't say Becky Lynch has necessarily been a failure. Her feud with Bianca has done good things for Bianca Belair, except not good things for Becky herself, but good things for Bianca Belair. It's not always about Becky, and I think she's done good for other people. That said, I don't think the big time Beck's character really works out for me. I would rather see her go back to being a face, but when it comes to Raw, I think logically she's more likely to remain as a heel so that they can have other people chasing her. They can continue the feud with Bianca Belair. They've got Liv Morgan there. They've got Alexa Bliss, who's a face at the moment, to take on Becky Lynch. They, at the moment at least, still have Asuka, though I do believe she'll be moving across to SmackDown in a very short space of time once she's fit and ready to go again. With this in mind, and the idea that Bayley may be a challenger soon, I think Becky will stay heel for a while yet. At least a little while longer. Michael says, I haven't liked heel Becky at all. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Being entirely honest and entirely blunt, I've not been the biggest fan of it either. However, it's one of those things. The WWE made a choice based on the people that she'll be working against, rather than based on her herself. Noob says, I know I hate to say it, but Asuka can wreck heels in the women's division in a heartbeat. Yep, she is, of course, a face and a top face on both brands, whichever brand she lands on. She could definitely have another feud with Charlotte, but I think we're a bit sick of that. She could have another feud with Becky, but honestly, we've seen a lot of that as well. With the two champions that we have at the moment, I don't necessarily think Asuka is getting top billing. That said, with the impending return of Sonya Deville, that would be interesting for me. Asuka versus Deville. Baszler versus Deville. And then ultimately, Charlotte versus Deville. I think Sonya Deville, if she's officially returning to SmackDown, will be a huge get for that brand and probably one of the biggest names to not land on the draft. To me, Sonya Deville delivers a whole lot more in her arsenal than she's been able to show so far, and I'm excited to see how that plays out. Welcome, Billy, and a hood evening to you too. I wish I was wearing a hoodie so I could pop the hood up. At this point, guys, I am basically looking for questions and an Ask Me Anything Q&A. Whatever questions you would like to ask, you are welcome to ask them. I will endeavour to answer as best I can. I do regular Ask Me Anything and Q&A shows for wrestling content. I'm, of course, a wrestling journalist. I've broken some pretty big wrestling news in the past, so you can ask me whatever you would like. Outside of that, we will probably wrap up fairly soon. What I will say before we really continue that, I'll let some questions build up, is that if you aren't a regular here on YouTube, then I do suggest, 1, clicking subscribe, and 2, checking and the news that you can only find here. There is quite a bit of it that definitely needs talking about from where I'm sitting. So my most recent video today was NXT call-ups that missed the WWE Draft 2021. We talked quite in depth there about LA Knight, Dakota Kai, Io Shirai, Volta, and a couple of other names. Also, as of Saturday, so yesterday, the video was updates and spoilers for WWE's Crown Jewel 2021 and WWE Survivor Series 2021 shows. Now, obviously, there is a spoiler warning in effect for that. Very much a spoiler warning in effect for most of the shows that we do here. But check them out if you're not afraid of finding out what the cards and expected winners are. And Christoph says, looking forward to you updating the stream's design. What's top notch already is your content, and that's what's most important. Thank you, Christoph. I really do appreciate that. I'm trying to create interesting content that people enjoy. That's the most important thing for me, just creating something that I'm proud of, that people actively enjoy watching. Hopefully, with the improvements to the stream and the physical appearance of the stream, we will also see people enjoying that element as well, and see how we go from there. Alyssa says, do you think Bayley should return as a babyface? I don't think she has a choice. The way I see it, with the heel run that she had, Bayley will return as a face whether we want her to or not. I just see that in her character, being absolutely inescapable. I think she'll return in the same vein that Triple H did way back when in 2002, right at the beginning for a Royal Rumble, where he expected to be booed and instead he was welcomed with open arms, and you can see the emotion on his face. He was so happy with the return that he got, so happy. I suspect the same thing will happen for Bayley. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. And Christoph says, I've been watching last year's G1 the last couple of days and I enjoyed it a lot. Love Jay White's antics too, all the small details he thinks of. Glad to hear you're enjoying it, Christoph. I remember talking about it last time. And yeah, Jay White, he's not there this year, and this is why I said watch last year's. Glad you're enjoying it. There's a lot of good about that particular tournament. A lot of good. The G1 really is in a league of its own. So that is all the questions that we have. We're going to wrap up there. Tune in tomorrow here on YouTube, 6 p.m. UK time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over in the United States for our Raw preview. We'll, of course, be sharing news there as well. And if you haven't already, please do consider jumping on over to twitch.tv/Tom Colohue, where we do spoiler warning shows. This show ends, because it will immediately boot up one of my YouTube videos, and that will keep you the most informed of your friends when it comes to wrestling news. In the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I will see you all very soon.